Sins of a Solar Empire 2's latest update has landed, version 1.4, Total Subjugation. This update is substantial and completely free to all owners of Sins of a Solar Empire 2, launching alongside the game's first paid DLC Paths to Power, covered in a separate video. This time, we're going to take a quick look at the main features of Total Subjugation. The Stardock missile corvette re-enters the fray, providing the TEC with a fast-moving, armour-piercing skirmisher that packs a hell of a lot of firepower into a small and compact package. Boasting 2 medium missile launchers and better armoured than the Shuriken gunship corvette, these deadly vessels rely on a rapid movement speed and a circling attack pattern to stay out of harm's way, and are particularly deadly to any ship without the ability to accurately track them. They excel in quick strikes made on vulnerable targets, such as retreating capital ships in their crippled state and other heavily damaged vessels that cannot evade the corvette's extreme speed. The power to rapidly redeploy a force of high pierce value, high DPS ships from your backlines to anywhere they are needed in mere seconds cannot be understated. Matched against targets they're best suited to kill, the Stardock is a deadly weapons system, transforming even heavy cruisers into space dust with little effort, although they're vulnerable to the usual corvette counterplays, and you'll need to figure out the best ways to protect them as they unleash their deadly salvos upon their prey. The Stardock missile corvette can be constructed by the Sova carrier with its mobile corvette factory ability, allowing for the rapid replacement of corvette losses when out on campaign. The ability to create new armour-piercing ships wherever they are needed brings a deadly new utility to the Sova carrier, cementing its place as a core component of any well-rounded TEC strike force. The Junsarak Warden joins the Vasari roster as a point defence frigate and as an anti-corvette solution, a role that it is particularly effective in. Armed with 3 PD pulse guns for targeting and shooting down enemy missiles, and 4 light phase missiles, the Junsarak Warden arrives at tier 2 and is best used for targeting lightly armoured corvettes and frigates. With the light phase missile's ability to bypass shields, this defensive-oriented frigate excels at combating the Advent, with their heavily shielded and fast-moving small ships. The Junsarak Warden is also a highly supply cost-effective missile screening picket, able to thin out incoming barrages from enemy missile ships, reducing their threat and forcing a range advantage to their own missile-armed vessels instead. The Vasari make great use of the Canrack assailant in their early game raiding fleets, but these deadly missile attack craft are vulnerable to rapid flanking manoeuvres by light frigates and corvettes, and while the Sunsarak Defensor is a capable counter to such threats, they are vulnerable to anti-corvette tactics such as flak bursts and the like. Mixing in some Junsarak Wardens will provide some extra defence and protect the Canrack, Lazarak transporters and other ships vulnerable to massed corvette or light frigate attacks. The Heavy Fighter brings a defensive solution to the Vasari Strikecraft game, providing a screen of elite fighters to complement their heavy bomber squadrons. The Vasari's relatively small population numbers require a tactical doctrine focused on smaller formations of technologically advanced ships, and their strikecraft are no exception. The Vasari Heavy Fighter is deployed in pairs, but their startlingly effective offensive capabilities more than make up for their lack of numbers, and if a force of Vasari strikecraft do happen to match their foes numerically, woe betide the enemy. With the capability to engage opposing strikecraft in daring dogfights, the Heavy Fighter can distract or destroy enemy fighters and allow the heavy bombers to get to work taking down larger and better armoured targets, such as cruisers, capital ships, star bases and even the mighty Titans. Furthermore, Heavy Fighters can be directed to attack enemy bombers in the first instance, eliminating that extra threat to your own fleets. With Total Subjugation, we've added a new type of planet and 2 new moons for you to discover, colonize, populate with cultured citizens, and bomb back into the Stone Age occasionally too. The Barren Planet is commonly found throughout most star systems, and while not exactly the most hospitable place for sentient life, can still support a thriving population and may hide many useful resources for you to exploit. Behold, the metal-rich volcanic moon! And here's the ice moon, a perfect place to find crystal for your empire-building endeavours. These can be found in tight orbits of larger planets, occasionally in pairs, and are a smaller counterpart to the larger volcanic planet and ice planet types found in the galaxy. The colonised worlds of Sins of a Solar Empire 2 are now simulated in better detail with a revised population and allegiance system, making a return from Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion in a new form. There is population living on the planets even before they are colonised by one of the players in-game. This population will grow as the colony is developed as usual, and it is they that drive the colony's economic development, with resource acquisition increasing as the population grows. The population on a world also has an allegiance, which is affected by the spread of culture to the world by the various powers and factions of the game. The allegiance of a colony directly affects the amount of resources gained, and taking a planet by force will not change the loyalties of the people you've just subjugated. With culture affecting a population's allegiance, the spread of culture becomes a much more powerful mechanic in Sins 2, because those that believe in your cause will work harder for you. The people living on these worlds, their culture and their beliefs may persist on a planet even after their rulership is overthrown, assuming there are any survivors of course. Actively working to spread your culture is now an important aspect of building a strong and productive empire, and these new mechanics enrich the economic gameplay of Sins of a Solar Empire 2 in an interesting and thematic way. Total Subjugation includes a very thorough and substantial balance pass to the game's tactical combat system. We can't list them all in this video, but here are the main points covered by these many changes and why we've made them. The average duration of a battle has been lengthened to provide more time for players to assess a situation and plan and execute tactical maneuvers. This has been achieved by raising the hit points of ships right across the game by around 45%. Sins of a Solar Empire 2 is a highly tactical game, and there are many variables at play in each combat situation requiring quick decision making. Many of the opportunities for such exciting tactical exchanges are lost when a battle is over too quickly, and we've responded to community feedback to slow things down just a little, to really allow players to get to grips with all these juicy game mechanics on offer. To further facilitate this, you'll see some changes to Capital Ship and Titan power scaling. In short, they start out just a little weaker, but by level 10 will eventually achieve around twice as many hit points as before, and with an effective damage output of around 75% extra. Capital Ship and Titan items and abilities have been tweaked to keep them balanced too. Next, to increase the readability of combat situations involving missiles and point defense, we slightly reduce the number of missiles you'll see on the field at any one time, while slightly increasing their hit points. The end result is that it should be easier to see when missiles are being shot down by point defense, and allow you to better build effective tactical countermeasures when your enemies deploy these weapon systems against you. Finally, some of the smaller ship types tended to feel a little outgunned by the later stages of the game, and so we've beefed them up with new researchable abilities that give them extra utility in the middle and end game. For example, the Karlev Gauss frigate now has access to the Coil Shock ability, a deadly energy attack that bounces between clustered enemy ships, depleting their shields. Sins of a Solar Empire 2 continues to evolve, with a larger fleet roster, a more detailed economic and cultural simulation, new planet types, and an improved combat system that facilitates increased tactical agency for players. We hope that you enjoy the changes in this free patch. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Cheers!